Hello, everyone. With Fringy on vacation, EFAP is kind of on hold until Saturday. And what we normally do every Wednesday is we do some get-together recording, stream catch-up, TV viewing, movie viewing. So we've been lately using that to watch Kenobi. That gets watched, recorded, Mahler edits them, sends them out, and they're put on the official EFAP channel and then stored on Mueller. I'll link in the description if you want to check those out. They're quite good, and they are absolutely far preferable to you watching Kenobi the show, because I think Kenobi the show is terrible. Let's discuss why. Or at least let's do it in a second. I wanted to get sort of the stream of consciousness out and get myself more into the habit of recording my thoughts, getting them out there, because I don't use social media and because I don't often communicate too much with my audience. I do it mostly through Discord, where I'm mostly reachable there. But I think this is going to be a good habit to start. I need to be making more content, I need to be working on videos more, and this will kind of get me into the practice of doing that. And pardon if you hear any rumbles in the distance, it is thunderstorming here. It's an inside kind of day. So let's spend it talking about Kenobi. Now, Disney has had a horrifically bad track record ever since Infinity War, with the exception of No Way Home. All of their shows, be they MCU shows or be they Star Wars shows, have been awful. The high points are still below sea level as far as I'm concerned, and those little tiny glimmers of hope that I see are few and far between. At once, I am tempted to make this parallel between Kenobi and Moon Knight. When we started watching Moon Knight, the first episode had us going, I'm interested. It was shockingly not terrible. There were still a lot of things going on, but it looked like from the first episode of Moon Knight that they were going to be maybe doing a slower paced, character-focused exploration of somebody in a small-scale kind of setting, which would have been incredibly refreshing to see in a Marvel product. We were curious to see how Oscar Isaac, who plays the main character, deals with his situation, learning about the events that are happening to him, and how his multiple personalities or different versions of himself interact with one another in the world. Unfortunately, that quickly devolved into Marvel sludge, and at the end, of course, we had Gaiju fights at the pyramids and the end of the world, or the enslavement of the planet at stake. It turned into Marvel sludge really quickly. But there was that glimmer of hope in episode 5 of Moon Knight. The way that he acted with his personality and the way that we sort of explored the backstory to how Mark developed this second personality, there was some stuff there that was of value. It was all surrounded by something terrible, but ultimately there was something there that was interesting. And it quickly went back to total sludge, awful territory. Kenobi kind of gave me the same vibe at the start, where the first episode, it spent just a little bit of time teasing us into thinking that maybe this would be an exploration of Kenobi's mindset and his personality and how his character has changed between the events of episode 3 and now, and where that would lead before we see him portrayed by Alec Guinness in episode 4. But even less than Moon Knight, we got our, what felt like just 5 minutes worth of character, 5 minutes of a low-stakes, intimate setting, and then it was off to the races. It would quickly depart from something that I think could have been interesting into their version of some planet-trotting, multiple-thread plot with a whole cast of annoying to uninteresting characters. And in no time, by episode 3, because at the time of recording this and putting this out, I have not seen episode 4 yet. This is only about episodes 1 through 3. But already we have seen the total destruction of Obi-Wan's character, which doesn't surprise me, and that's the other sad part. but it's still, of course, worth pointing out. We've seen the destruction of his character. We've seen me grow to hate Princess Leia. We have seen an instant, almost instant drop-off down into that Disney sludge that they just keep making time and time and time again, both with their movies and with their shows. Here's one of the main issues with the show going into it that has to be constantly thought about while writing it. As anyone knows who has even, just by watching the mainline movies, it needs to provide, and it should provide, all of the information that you use to formulate kind of a show's skeleton. The main issue is that you have to get from Kenobi at the end of episode 3 to Obi-Wan Kenobi at the beginning of episode 4. And that limits you. He has a job to do. He has a responsibility. He is watching over Luke. He's taking care of Luke, making sure that Luke can one day grow up and flourish in the Force. And you don't want to have him deviate from that. If you do, you should probably make it short and purposeful and unavoidable. So if you want to have Kenobi going out and about to other planets and cityscapes and installations, wherever you want to take him, planet trotting, there needs to be a darn good reason for it. And that is something that this show fails in right off the bat. They need to have a reason for Kenobi to be doing things that aren't what we assume him to be doing in between episode 3 and 4. Because him spending long periods of time in meditation and lying low, being, underneath the radar, and having maybe more introspective moments doing low-scale kinds of tasks doesn't lend itself to what Disney wants their shows to be, which is Kenobi going from planet to planet, and he's using the Force, and of course we've got to see the lightsaber, and he needs to be doing all this traveling and making a ruckus, and it's exciting and it's amazing, and there's all these plots and there's all these characters and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Kenobi leaves watching over Luke because he is contacted by Bail Organa, who is the adopted father of Leia, because Leia is very prominent in this show to the point where you might think she's the main friggin' character. Leia is kidnapped by thugs at the behest of a Sith Inquisitor, who's a Force-sensitive person employed by the Empire to hunt down Jedi. So the Sith Inquisitor, Reva is her name, she orchestrates the kidnapping of Leia Organa as a 10-year-old kid so that she can draw Obi-Wan out of hiding. How she connects all these dots and how she organizes all of this and learns everything she needs to learn and then actually executes it and doesn't tell the rest of the Sith Inquisition or Darth Vader, it's all friggin' nonsense. Bail, being essentially the king of a planet, Alderaan, does not enlist the help of mercenaries, his personal royal bodyguard, the planet's army, the best bounty hunters that money can buy. He doesn't tap into the resources of the Empire in order to help the captured daughter of a political figure in the Senate. Instead, he travels in person to Tatooine, to Obi-Wan Kenobi's cave, to get him to go and look for his daughter. It is absolutely absurd. It is an incredibly contrived and insanely reckless maneuver by Bail to do this, because the Jedi should be in hiding, and Bail risks everything by being caught talking to Obi-Wan. If there are people tracking him, if he's being watched, he is a prominent political figure, so it should be difficult for him to lay low. Regardless, incredibly irresponsible on both of their parts. Obi-Wan goes off on this quest to get a kidnapped Leia back, get her to safety, and abandons Luke. His responsibility, his mission, he leaves Luke totally alone on this planet, which is doubly weird considering that if you have the two secret offspring of Darth Vader who are spread at different parts of the galaxy, and one of them gets kidnapped, you might be thinking, dang, this is quite an interesting coincidence. What if they come for Luke next? Doesn't occur to him. It's not an issue. And I don't want to give a plot synopsis, but it goes to show the kind of lengths that they have to stretch things, the kind of black magic that they have to cast that makes no sense and is so poorly written in order to give an excuse for why Obi-Wan Kenobi is out doing the Disney thing, going from planet to planet, all these locations, bringing his lightsaber out and swinging it around and using the Force, and Disney doesn't care. The writers don't care about the setting. The writers don't care that in between episode 3 and 4, Obi-Wan Kenobi is laying low and he's not attracting attention to himself and he's just watching Luke and making sure that Luke is okay and protecting him. That doesn't matter. They are going to take the story that they want to tell and squeeze it in wherever they want. Consequences be damned, logic be damned, reason be damned. And as a result, you have characters like Bail Organa and Obi-Wan Kenobi instantly from the first episode damaged with their stupidity because we need to have them going on this planet-trotting adventure. So across 3 episodes, you have the Sith Inquisitors who are clownish cartoon villains who look silly and sound ridiculous, and they're so just cartoonishly evil, chasing after Obi-Wan, who has been thoroughly assassinated in terms of intelligence and character, because in episode 3 in particular, we see him making stupid after stupid after stupid after stupid decision after he does the same thing in episode 2, after he does the initial super stupid maneuvers by getting involved in this plot. We also see him using innocent people as human shields, seeing people being taken advantage of in the name of the Jedi and not stopping them, allowing bad things to occur around him, and not doing anything to stop it, and not even seeming to show any form of regret or sadness over it. There is a sequence in episode 3 where Darth Vader, yes, because Darth Vader is in this show, and in episode 3, Darth Vader and Obi-Wan meet in one of the most wasted, anticlimactic, dull, and mediocre meetings I've ever seen in my life. Jesus Christ, if you were to ask me if this show would waste the meeting of Obi-Wan and Vader after 10 years, I would have said, of course they're going to waste it, because Disney writers have no talent, and people watch these shows and they will just consume the product without any sense of standards. Yeah, I'd say they'd waste it, but to this degree, holy crapola. The bar was low, but damn, son, you exceeded expectations in the most negative way possible. You have a scene where Darth Vader's walking down these streets of some backwater town, because those are the only things in Star Wars now. And he's just being a cartoon villain. He's lifting up random bystanders, and he's dragging them, and he breaks one of their necks, and he's just being a dick, right? He's just being a nasty person. And Obi-Wan, instead of running away, he watches all of this happen as Vader gets closer and closer, and he sees these people being tortured and killed and threatened in front of him. And he doesn't seem to have any sort of remorse or concern about it. His face is blank, and he just has this sort of mild concern. When we see... Oh, where do you start? There's a level of logic that you have in stories that's spatial. How do characters get to where they need to go? Do they bump into each other along the way? What do they see along the way? What happens? How does a character get from point A to point B? How do other characters follow them? Do they have obstacles in the way? It's like the logistics of space. Not outer space, but space, objects, distances, right? The logistics of space is often one of the first things that is totally abandoned in badly written shows and movies. This insistence that, oh, this character just meets this other character. This character just gets captured by this other character. You could have a tunnel, and somehow characters can go from one end to the other and not bump into each other. And this happens constantly in this show. You have no sense of where people are, where they're going. You have no sense of understanding as to how characters get from place to place. Your mind cannot make sense of it. Because, again, this is one of the first elements in a show that is abandoned when you need to make things happen. I want Reva to catch Leia. That's the end point. That's the goal that you're working towards as a writer. And if you're a bad writer, if you're a lazy writer, like the geez, there were like 4 writers to this terrible show, then don't worry about it. Don't worry about the how. Don't worry about if it makes sense if Reva catches Leia. Don't worry about Leia being with people. Don't worry about the decisions that her guardians make regarding Leia's passage through spaces and them watching over her. Don't worry about that. Just have Reva suddenly appear at the end of a tunnel to catch her, against all reason and against all logic. Just have it happen. It's a things just happen plot. Characters just happen to do all of the things they need to do to have ridiculously written things happen. They just happen to meet the right character who gives them the right item that they will need to have the plot occur. They go to the right place so that they can see the right thing, so that they can be led in the right direction. Everything is so very scripted. And yes, scripted. Obviously, in a show, everything is scripted. But you want to hide the fact that everything is scripted behind reasons for why things occur in universe. In Captain America Civil War, how does Bucky Barnes get spotted? Well, it's because his face is put all over the news and someone notices his face in a crowd while he's out and about. Cause and effect. Let's stick to Star Wars Episode 4. How does the Empire discover the Rebel base on Yavin 4? Because Darth Vader has a plan that involves putting a tracking beacon on the Millennium Falcon, so when they escape, quote-unquote escape, from the Death Star, that tracking beacon leads the Empire to the Rebel base. Yes, obviously it's all scripted in the meta sense, that's the plot, but when the movie is playing out and we're watching events occur one after another, there's this understanding that this happened because of this thing, not because it was ordained by a writer that exists outside of universe for it to happen. And much like many Marvel shows, much like all the Disney shit these days, so much of this plot is just, it reeks of extra universe knowledge. How do characters get where they need to go? How do they bump into the people they need to bump into? How do all of the payoffs happen? How do the big moments in the show occur? Is it just because they do? Oh, this person just sees that person. Oh, she's just there now. It doesn't make any sense. There's no logistics. It's been abandoned. Because that requires talent. That might require you, let's see, if you're a writer, and you have, like we said, like I said, there's just one of me talking, at the beginning of this chat, how do we get Kenobi to abandon his charge of Luke, leave Tatooine, and go on a planet-hopping adventure across space with his lightsabers swinging around and the Force and lasers going pew-pew? How do we do that? A talented writer stops and takes a moment and really thinks, and they scratch their chins and their noggins, and they sit down and they come up with reasons that are believable for the character. Why would Obi-Wan do this? What would it take to get Obi-Wan to do this? Shall we take into consideration Kenobi's personality and his state of mind after the events of Episode 3? Has he lost faith in his journey? Does he need to be put on the right... All of these reasons, all of these potential avenues can be explored by a talented writer to get an idea that maybe Disney wants to happen. If Disney came to me and said, all right, Rags, hi Rags, you need to write a show about Kenobi between Episode 3 and 4, I'd say, first off, are you sure that you want to do this? But then I'd say, all right, I'm going to have to think. Because Kenobi's an established character, and we're putting this between 2 very clearly established movies. So we have to get from point A to point B, and everything that happens along the way has to end where Episode 4 began. And that's going to take some work, honestly. So I'm going to have to think about this long and hard. And I feel like the writers of Kenobi, because there were 4 of them. 4 writers came up with this dumpster tier crap of a story. I get the feeling like they just rolled dice and went with the first thing that popped into their heads. And extra options were never even explored because there is nothing satisfying nor creative in this show. No, I'll take that back. There was one little thing that I liked. It was when Kenobi explained what using the Force was like to Leia. when they were in that transport ship. That was a tiny little thing that I liked. The tiny little bitty dim light in this infinite darkness that is Disney writing. In regards to other characters, we have Reva, who is the third sister of the Sith Inquisition. She seems to have some kind of a personal investment in Kenobi, and we believe, I think it was Fringy and Jay, they really were quite confident in this early, and I think they're correct. I think they're right on the money here, that she was a youngling in the Jedi Academy, and she feels as if Kenobi failed her or the others, and they're going to try and turn her good by the end, but I don't know. I feel she's just this cartoon silly person. She flips around and does these totally unnecessary jumps and spins like this is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. It looks very silly. She has these lines, "I will get you, Kenobi," and she's not bright, and I guess the acting's fine, but it's hard to tell with acting in these shows because I don't know if you just have a bad actor or actress or if the director wanted you to do these silly things. I mean, she's no less ridiculous than any other Disney villain, and the other Sith Inquisitors are just silly, and you can't take them seriously. One of them has this strange hat on that is big and looks like this weird cone, and the Grand Inquisitor is just a silly-looking pale guy with marks on his head, and he gets stabbed, and I guess he dies, but he's not supposed to die because his character apparently comes back in Rebels, because we're at the point now with Disney where I can watch a lightsaber go straight through somebody, by somebody, with the intention of killing them, and I doubt everything that I see. I can't even be confident in saying, yeah, that person's dead. I mean, it sure as hell killed Qui-Gon and all those other Jedi, but to hell with that. Nothing's as it seems, you know how it is. And we have probably the deuteragonist, the side protagonist, who is Leia, who is a 10-year-old girl that the show really wants us to think is quite clever and intelligent, and she's just the bestest ever. But unfortunately, the writing makes her insanely unreasonable and super stupid. She is annoying. She says things that are frustrating. Leia's such a great character in the OT. She's so great in the original series. And I understand that we gotta really try and play up female characters. I get it. It's Disney, modern Disney. But holy fuck, I don't understand why they insist on making female characters so stupid and insufferable and perfect. Leia I hate her. They have got me to hate Leia Organa. They've gotten me to hate Leia. I am annoyed when she's present. I want her to die. I want Leia to die. I want her to go away forever and not come back. I want her to be quiet. I want her to experience pain. Leia is a great example of how I've kind of talked about this before. It's worth discussing a bit here. How do you get a character to be, if you're a writer, to be strong? Well, that's easy if you're a writer. If you're a writer and you want to write a character who's strong, you essentially just say they're strong. They do strong things. They lift heavy stuff. Everyone says, wow, you're strong. We've witnessed you performing feats that require great strength. You certainly are quite the Hercules, aren't you? How do you write a character who's fast and swift? Well, that's easy too. You write, they are fast. They get from point A to B quite quickly. Their feats of speed are, it's kind of a joke, feat of speed. They are noticed by other characters who say, wow, that person's fast. They're known to be fast. They do things quickly. That is easy to write. It's practically through fiat. Write that they are fast, and they are fast. However, let us also say that you are a writer, and you want to write a character who is clever. Well, that's a little more difficult. That's a bit more of a challenge. Because it's very difficult to write characters who are more clever than you are. Sure, you can just write them to be clever, as in you say, this person is clever, and they are known to be clever. However, without showing that to the audience, we're sort of just taking it on faith that they are. And it's a good idea to establish that these things are true to your audience. You don't want your audience to take these things on faith. Ideally, you want your audience to trust you because you've instilled in them a level of confidence, because you've shown them evidence that this is the case. The mighty knight, Jordan, he is so strong, he's huge, he's got arms like tree trunks, and he lifts up the boulder and frees the fellow of his trapped beneath. You are explaining to the audience how Jordan is strong. Melissa, the message runner, she can run messages very, very quickly. She runs between the Fort Salma and New Victoria so quickly. She can do it in 2 days, whereas it takes others 3 days, maybe even longer. You show that she is fast. You explain what these characters are doing so that their traits are made known to the viewers and to the audience. And the problem with Leia is that the writers are not, when it comes to writing, they are very untalented. They're very bad at their jobs. These writers are not good at writing, which is an issue. They want to have Leia be this child prodigy. She's so smart, and she's so insightful, and she has such a wisdom that people her age generally just do not have. She is special. Boy, she is sharp. However, you're not a very intelligent writer, or you're certainly not talented, and you're certainly not clever. So, as a result, all of the things you have Leia doing are constantly stupid and uninformed and frustrating and dumb. So you throw in a couple lines here and there that you think are very clever and meaningful for her to say, because we know that you want us to think that she's very clever and she's quite the intellectual prodigy. But it's all surrounded by her doing constantly stupid things. And she says all of these supposedly clever things in this matter-of-fact, "Ooh, aren't I so smart" kind of way that you just hate her. There's no growing, there's no learning, there's no journey. She is pre-packaged to have all of the traits and all of the characteristics that you need. She's like Rey. She's exactly like Rey in many senses. This character is just pre-packaged with everything she needs. She doesn't have a journey, she doesn't grow, she doesn't mess up and have to learn from that and develop like a human being, God forbid. You just bought the DLC that pre-packages her with all of the things you need to make a character, and then you slapped her in the world. Boom. And as a result, it just doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like it's earnest. It's so artificial. You see through it. It's transparent. Because the same writers are writing Obi-Wan Kenobi as a character, and he suffers from the same stupidity and idiocy and moral awfulness now that I would expect from writers with these lacking talents. And it's like a mirror. The side effect of all of this constant Star Wars writing, be it The Mandalorian, be it Boba Fett, be it this show, Kenobi, all of these Star Wars shows are written by idiots and people who do not have talent and do not care about characters and the logic of the world. So as a result, it has tainted the entire universe to make me believe that everybody inside of it is an idiot. Everyone's dumb. Everyone is naive. Everyone is stupid and constantly irresponsible, regardless of whether or not their characters are supposed to be those things. The show Kenobi, it takes you to some neat places, I guess. I mean, a neat place, like a little city that we haven't seen before. Thank God we're off Tatooine in the first episode. As much as I feel like he should stay on Tatooine, I'm sick of Tatooine. I'm sick of it. I never want to see Tatooine again. I'm just sick of it. This backwater place that Kenobi went to lay low is apparently the new center of the Star Wars universe, and I hate it so much. I want to go to nice places. We're only on Alderaan for 3 seconds before we leave it. I know that some moderate to nice places exist in this galaxy. It would be nice to go there. But you do get a little bit of a change of scenery in this show. It doesn't last very long, and ultimately it's not very rewarding or meaningful because everything that happens there is stupid. There's such little of value in this show about Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's so little to be said about qualities. I mean, yeah, for the most part, things look good. You know, it's Disney money thrown at a Disney show. The acting is, I don't know, I don't even know. It's only been 3 episodes, and already this happened with episode 2. But so quickly you just go off that cliff in terms of potential and in terms of quality. Anything that they were setting up that you thought might be meaningful and interesting is simply disposed of in service of a crazy planet-trotting plot. We go here, now we go here, now we go here, and then, oh no, we're being chased by stupid people. But that's okay, we're stupid too, so it kind of balances out. We see stormtroopers, of course, and they're as stupid as ever. They can't hit anything. They don't act rationally. They just stand around essentially waiting for their turn to get killed. As I mentioned before, we see Darth Vader, and Darth Vader kind of behaves bizarrely. He comes across as petty and like vengeful, but in a cartoonish way. He finally meets Kenobi after 10 years of them being apart. This person who's cursed him essentially with this body and these restrictions, who has injured him and hurt him greatly. And is there any real conversation that they have as if they've been looking forward to this or dreading this? No. It's the most lamest lightsaber exchange and the most just petulant, ooh, you burned me, Kenobi, so I'm going to drag you into some fire and it's going to hurt a little bit. Darth Vader has been made impotent in this show. Same with the stormtroopers. You have a scene where you have a bit of fire. So there's some fire in between Vader and Kenobi. Vader uses the Force to put out the fire so that there's no space between them. Another character reignites the fire. And now the fire's an obstacle that that Vader can't get across. Someone rescues Kenobi, drags him away, but Vader and the stormtroopers, who are 20 feet away, they can't get through the fire now, so I guess we can have a reset point for how Vader and Kenobi are separated again. It's all just nonsense. When you watch this in our EFAPs, because I think that the EFAP for episode 3 is going to be out on, I think it'll be Friday, and this should come up at Wednesday. You'll be able to see this. You can share in the frustration that I have in these properties continuously making people incompetent and stupid. For those of you who have watched this will sound like an odd parallel. Can you hear my chair squeaking under my little doggy bottom? But Star Trek: The Next Generation, in particular, right? Especially once you get past the first kind of meh season. It's kind of competency porn, in a way, and going back to watch a lot of the clips of that show, the contrast between these Disney shows and Disney characters and Disney writing versus Star Trek: The Next Generation, which wasn't even like huge on characters. It was I don't even know if I'd say it's big on characters. It's more plots and ethics and different situations. But Star Trek: The Next Generation is competence porn. You watch that show, you whip out your dick, and you watch everybody just be competent. This is a starship that is full of professionals. It's full of people who have been doing this job for many years, who do this task every day, whether they are engineers, whether they are security, whether they are logistics, whether they are technicians, whether they are space grease monkeys. There are a whole cast of characters. There is a whole cast of characters. There are whole casts of characters, would be their way. But there is a whole cast of characters who are just competent at their job. A problem arises. All of the characters meet. Worf, you do this. Data, you do this. Geordi, you do this. Number one, make sure that da-da-da. Everybody is offering suggestions. Everybody is listening to everybody else. Everybody is communicating to one another. ideas are put out there, and they are either accepted, rejected, modified. They explore different avenues for solutions. They try to be creative. And yeah, there's some level of technobabble in there, but it never really got crazy. You always kind of could follow along with what they're doing. Captain, in order to get to the planet Mintaka, we have to pass through the gaseous cloud that is orbiting the planet's outer atmosphere. The cloud is made up of 63% ionized radiation that can tamper with our electronic systems on the ship. That'll make it difficult for us to communicate and perform tasks on board. Ah, yes, I see. Do you have any solutions to this problem? Is it going to be an issue for us to operate? Well, yes, but don't worry. I think I should be able to take the shields and reharmonize the frequency as we pass through the cloud, and we can't use them as shields from phaser attacks, or proton torpedoes, but we will be able to pass through the cloud. Excellent. That's a good idea. Make it so. Worf, I want everyone on yellow alert until we pass through the cloud. Keep scanner range at maximum. I mean, I'm just making this up off the top of my head, but it's just, you see, there's a problem, and they go through the problem, and everyone's just competent. And I'm just going to start talking about Star Trek again when I should be talking about Kenobi. I wish I was talking about Star Trek, but we got to talk about Kenobi. In Kenobi, everyone's dumb. You have Kenobi who needs to... You have scenes where Leia is running away from Kenobi for stupid reasons, and Kenobi needs to grab her. The chase sequences in this are super frustrating. Do you want to know how difficult it is for healthy grown men to catch little girls who are running away? It's not difficult. Little girls are short. They have tiny legs. They're not very quick. But regardless of that unfortunate inconvenience of reality, if you want to have Leia running away from a character, and that character is an adult man, you have to come up with these ridiculous moments of incompetence so that she can have a little chase sequence that ultimately ends up in her getting captured anyway. So it makes you wonder, what's the point? Why did you decide to draw out this stupid running sequence in a forest where Leia's trying to escape her captors when you could have just cut to her putting a bag over her head, and that's that? Instead, you draw it out and you make them look like a bunch of simpleton morons who can't catch a child. I know in the second episode, Leia's trying to get away from Kenobi, and so she kind of runs like past him, and Kenobi is looking at her, watching her. He knows he needs to get her, and she like just runs right past him, not just within arm's reach, but practically brushes up against his arms and just runs away, and Kenobi's just like, and they do the thing that actors do when they're told to do something in a scene that just makes no sense, so they have to act like they have brain damage or something. Like, they know, I can tell, Ewan McGregor knows I should just be able to grab this little girl, but I'm not allowed to because the scene just says that I can't, so I have to act sort of bewildered and confused, and like I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, I forgot that you could extend these appendages with all these little bitty niblets at the end and just grab things. I called fingers niblets. That's what this show has reduced me to. It's terrible. It was really, really, really bad watching these first 3 episodes. And I think when this goes out later, it will be... episode 4 should be out, and I won't be watching it until Saturday. I'm avoiding spoilers, not because I really care about what happens, but because we do record these, and I think the live reaction is valuable. There is something that I enjoy about watching other people's kind of live, unfiltered reactions to things. I know they're edited, so it's technically filtered to a degree, but you know what I mean. You don't know what's going to happen next. You just sort of, you're watching it along with someone else for the first time, kind of. And I mean, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be awful. It's not like, I'm on the edge of my seat because I can't wait to see what happens next. Oh my goodness, there's so many characters that I care about, and I don't know who's going to live or die, or if anyone's going to get hurt, and I don't know what's going to happen in the plot. No, fuck that. It's not like any of that. I'm on the edge of my seat because I want to leave, not because I'm excited. I've been talking long enough. Kenobi. It's terrible. Maybe some magic will occur. Some miracle of the Force will occur, and I think there's only 6 episodes, the last 3 episodes won't be terrible. And honestly, after episode 3, and everything that happened in that, surely it has to be all uphill from here. It has to be uphill from here. Because episode 3 of Kenobi is just a new, fresh hell of a low. This is the Marianas Trench of writing, I swear. Ugh. Ooh. Alright, I'll see y'all later. That's my talk about Kenobi. I'll be back later to talk about the rest, potentially. Be good, be well. Ciao.